Cripes Alfredo. Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm Charlie Behrens, and this is the first episode of the CripesCast. CripesCast is a podcast where I talk to people for and or from the Midwest, so that's a nice way of leaving it open enough to really talk to anybody I want to. And actually, I'm very excited about the first guest I got for the CripesCast. You'll actually see in our conversation. We came up with the name in the podcast, but it's Phil Johnston, the pride of Neenah, Wisconsin, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, Phil is from Neenah. The original Twin Cities, by the way. We talk about that a little bit, but Phil is a screenwriter. You may know him. He wrote and directed Ralph Breaks the Internet. He also wrote Wreck-It Ralph, Zootopia, and Cedar Rapids. Now, Cedar Rapids has a special place in my heart because it was one of my first times on the big screen. That's right. I was the out of focus pool boy. So now I know what you're asking, Charlie. Was this your first big role? And actually, no. I was also an out of focus reporter in Public Enemies. So I don't want to brag, but I'm kind of a big deal. But anyway, this isn't about me. This is about Phil. Phil is one of the biggest writers out there. Wreck-It Ralph, obviously a massive hit. Zootopia, the same. He's a great guy, just very humble, and he's been a big help to me throughout my career. So I think you'll really enjoy this conversation. And we first met on the set of Cedar Rapids, where I was the PA, the walkie PA. So I was in charge of making sure everybody's walkie-talkies had properly charged batteries. I made sure everybody had coffee. It's a pretty big deal. And they also threw me in as pool boy. So more on that in the interview. But also I think it'll be interesting to kind of just get a sense of like how somebody goes from being, just a normal kid growing up in Neenah, Wisconsin, and then they end up being, one of the best screenwriters out there today. And Phil does a good job of breaking that down a little bit. And, just hearing about his background. He's very, very interesting dude. So I think you'll enjoy it. If you do like this podcast, don't forget to subscribe and do the rating thing. I think you can rate it 5 stars if you think it's good enough for 5 stars. Okay, if you want to do 4, I'm not going to complain. 4 out of 5 is not so bad either. So, and I should also mention this interview took place before the whole coronavirus thing, so that's why we were sitting there talking in close quarters, just spraying droplets all over each other, all willy-nilly, son of a gun. So here it is, the first episode of the CripesCast. CripesCast episode 1 featuring Phil Johnston, the pride of Neenah. Oh, there's a guy working on the roof. Anywho, enjoy the interview. Do we like calling this the Keep Her Moving podcast or the Cripes podcast?
I prefer Cripes.
Do you?
I do strongly, but Keep Her Moving is that's your choice. That's your brand. Cripes is a more universal thing, I think. A lot of people relate to it.
Yeah.
Cripes culture.
I think we'll just go with the Cripes podcast.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be part of it.
I'd love if this was like the 3rd or 4th podcast. It's like the Keep Her Moving podcast.
Rebranding.
Phil Johnston is the, you guys may know him as one of the funniest comedic writers, screenwriters of our time.
Wow.
Some of you may know him as the...
You frickin' liar.
Stop it. Some of you may know him as the pride of Neenah. So you moved to Neenah when you were 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And then when did you know that you were a creative fella?
Well, I was, as a kid, almost exclusively into sports. Like all I cared about was football, basketball, baseball, and soccer. And I think maybe 8th or 9th grade started to write. Like I just started keeping a journal for some reason. Then I read this book.
Oh, we got the tally going.
Oh, geez. You want to see who that is?
Yeah, see who it is. You want me to pick it up?
Nah, I usually don't answer the home phone.
Regardless of who's on the phone, so you started being a little bit creative.
Yeah, I mean, I always would draw and tell jokes and stuff like that, but oh, you know what it was? At a certain age, I started sneaking to watch Saturday Night Live.
Oh, really?
And Eddie Murphy became my hero. And I thought, oh, I want to be I want to be a comedian. I want to be Eddie Murphy. And then my brother had a Steve Martin album, the one, Let's Get Small, I think it was.
Yeah.
The one where he's like, mind if I smoke? No, mind if I fart? And I probably listened to that track on the record 800 times. Just that one. That's the only one I thought was funny because it involved farts. So I think being a comedian or something was more in my head than being a writer or a filmmaker or anything like that. And then, 8th or 9th grade, started really writing in earnest and started enjoying that, and read this book, this guy that had written for the Chicago Sun-Times, I think, Bob Greene, had this book that was all about, it was taking from his high school journals, and he spun kind of a narrative out of that, but using his high school journals as the basis of this narrative. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. I should keep a journal every day so I can, when I'm an old man, look back at my high school days. And I did that. I kept a journal from, 10th grade until I was 25 or something like that, and wrote every day.
Wow.
So, and it is boring. I mean, it's like, I wasn't trying to be entertaining mostly. It was like, I went to Mike's today. We played basketball in his driveway. His dad made brats, and it would be that. Yeah. But that muscle, like working out, it just became second nature, I think. So I don't even know that outside of knowing I wanted to do something where I was funny, like, I don't think I thought of writing as something I was actually going to do. I just did it.
That's. And did you do, like you say, I'm going to do a page a day, or you just wrote something?
It was just, there somewhere in this office. Yeah. I would just write literally what happened.
Yeah.
Sometimes I would write a short story or something like that if I got inspired, but mostly it was just sometimes what I was feeling. But I was also, looking at it now, lying so clearly on the page, like talking about girls I like. Like, I'm glad Jody said that we're only going to be friends. It's the best for sure going forward. I'm like, oh, you fucking loser. No. You don't. Who are you lying to here?
Isn't that funny? Because I think I too have kept journals ever since I was a kid. I think there's something in the back of your head that goes, if I fall off my bike, it goes the wrong way down that creek.
Yeah,
someone's going to read this.
Yeah, that's right.
And I don't want that to push me into hell.
I know. But you see other people, and maybe it's more girls than boys, who are. It's all out there. They're bearing their soul in their journals and diaries and stuff, and I'm just lying. I'm just like trying to look cool. It's such a loser.
Well, you're trying to look cool for the autobiography of your life.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. It's painful, really painful.
That'd be hilarious to just do like I don't know, like an animated thing about like how awesome your life was growing up based on your journals.
Yeah, like a Rashomon, the 4 points of view, all of which are my own, none of which are accurate.
So you're a creative guy, generally. I mean, you're doing the work, which is just keeping the journal. A lot of people don't even do that. And then you get into high school, and you said you were a theater kid. So.
Yes, yeah. I got discovered. Not gonna lie to you. Wow. In speech class, I gave a speech, and the speech teacher was also the theater coach or director, I guess. And he said, "Hey, you got something special here, kid. Would you try out for the show?"
No kidding.
And I said, "Yeah, I will." And I did.
Oh my gosh.
And I got the part.
You gotta be kidding me. That's like straight out of Sinatra's biography.
It's like a Marilyn Monroe kind of situation where, I'm at Woolworths, just wearing a tight sweater. Someone goes, "Hey, you got what it takes, kid."
Wow.
The rest is history.
And you pulled off the sweater, and you had a pack of smokes rolled up in your white shirt,
and a lot of body hair.
Yeah. This was also in your journal.
Yeah, exactly. No, so I did. His name was Rod Johnson, and sort of honestly, like, really informed a lot of how I defined myself going forward in at least in high school. I was in, 8 or 9 plays, and going from thinking I was going to be a jock when I wasn't terrible at sports, but I was never going to be the star of the basketball team, or even maybe make the basketball team would be in doubt. But I got into theater, and that became my identity in high school.
No, that's cool. Your voice sounds really good in here, by the way.
Thanks. My voice bugs me.
Really?
It's not. The Wisconsin sort of comes out, but it's more the tools that are necessary for a good Wisconsin accent live always in me, which are sort of this nasal adenoidal thing that I no matter how long I'm away, it's always there. It's like Ira Glass's, loser nephew from the UP or something is how I hear myself and my voice.
Did you try to get rid, like, especially being an actor, did you try to get rid of like a Wisconsin?
No, I don't think so. I love the Wisconsin accent so much.
Yeah.
And like if anytime I'm talking to anyone from home, I love slipping into it just because it's the most natural thing in my head. I didn't consciously get rid of it though.
No, it's well, because you went to New York, obviously.
Yeah.
I guess we'll get to that in the thing, but over time it just kind of goes away a little bit. But then a couple schlitz will bring it right back to your guy.
That's right.
Yeah,
mine's more like in this area.
Oh yeah, sure.
Kevin, come over here once. That's where mine goes. Sort of more breathy.
Oh yeah. No, I know that. That actually, say it again real quick. I'm gonna put the headphones back on.
Which part? Come over here for a sec. Yeah. I want to go by Menards and pick up some mulch.
I feel like you should, for your next, have you done voices for any of your animated?
I sure have. Yeah.
Which voice?
I did this guy in Wreck-It Ralph in the sequel called Surge Protector. He's kind of a Wisconsin voice, but then Gideon Gray was in Zootopia. It was a Southern voice, but in that same raspy kind of like that. Get over here, you son of a gun. And that's very much basically that's more like Jesse Ventura if he smoked a lot.
Yeah.
It's a little more Minnesota than Wisconsin, but
when you do animated, when you write for animated shows, do you have to think of these voices in your head, or are you thinking of like people you would like to have?
I think of usually actors whose voice I like or whose personality I like, and so sort of write with types in mind.
Yeah.
And then it's fun with like the smaller parts, especially just bringing in voice actors who can do anything.
Yeah.
Like this guy John DiMaggio. I don't know if you know him. He's the most gifted. I mean, he's a great actor to begin with, but then can do any voice, and just these weird character voices and these gross sounds he can make. Just that skill is mind-blowing and is so fun to watch.
It's got to be cool to work with someone like that closely, because then as they start doing stuff, they probably open up like different parts of your brain, which is like, it become very collaborative process. Probably.
Yeah.
That's great. I love that. Going back to Neenah now. You're in. You're doing the plays. You're doing the stuff. Influenced by Steve Martin, SNL, all that sort of thing. And then you finish high school, and so are you thinking like, oh, I could do this professionally?
Here's the sad reality to my between high school and age 29, basically, is I don't think I had the guts to do. Well, I didn't have the guts to do it. I didn't think that it was a practical course. I sort of dabbled in theater in college, but at a certain point was like, well, broadcast journalism is a safer bet. There's a clear ladder to climb. You should, and it's kind of performing, which is a terrible way to think about. I did the
exact same
thing. I know. We both went
to
Madison, had the same great teacher at Madison.
Yes.
And
Lou Friedland,
sweet Lou.
Yeah. That's I mentioned him. I gave a commencement speech there, and I mentioned him at the end of it because he told us before leaving. He said, be skeptical, not cynical. And I thought that was great advice, especially in this world of like social media, cynics running the deal.
He was an amazing teacher and clearly made me think differently about broadcast journalism than the idea of it being a performance is so stupid, and it bums me out that's where my head was at the time. So I don't regret that, the majority of my 20s were spent this getting ahead of whatever insightful questions you're about to ask. But no, I studied broadcast journalism at Madison and then was a reporter for 8 or 9 years in Rochester, Minnesota, Omaha, Minneapolis eventually, before I decided that I really wanted to make movies and write movies, and then went back to school to get my master's and moved to New York when I was almost 30. And I think, like, looking back now, again, I'm happy to have had those experiences because they do nothing but inform the work. But like, if I just had I wonder sometimes if I'd had the guts to follow what I thought I should be doing at that time, but just didn't, like, what would be different? I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
And it's a waste of time thinking about.
Sure.
I can't do anything about it.
Well, yeah. I mean, because it could have gone two ways. You could have gone the stand-up comedy route and done what most stand-up comics do, and that's do it pretty good for a few months and then call it quits.
Yeah.
Or and I mean, you can't really think of it. And you also could, we could hit the clubs if you want,
I think it's not too late. The one thing I have come to realize from both knowing how I approached acting as a kid and now having worked with some truly extraordinary actors, I can say this is not false Wisconsin modesty, but I don't think I can do what great actors can do, in that I don't have access to my emotions, in a way, in a performance that would ever allow me to be really great. Like, I think I always thought acting was finding a funny voice or a unique voice and sort of putting it on and becoming that. Like, I could probably be a schlocky character actor, but in terms of being a real actor with real, I don't think I have that. And you need that. The great ones have that, and I just don't.
Well, I think I mean, you see it as Cedar Rapids, like when you watch John C. Reilly work, especially. I mean, you're just like it kind of blows you away, and then watching his and really thinking about what it takes to do that, and sometimes I just look at that going, because in the Midwest too, when you're born, you get baptized, or if you're Catholic, or maybe if you're, so I don't know how the other ones do it.
Episcopal, that's what I am. I got baptized.
You got baptized,
sure.
And then right after you get baptized, there's a safe where you lock all your emotions, and
that's right.
You don't ever touch those.
No, you don't.
That just stays in the basement. And hopefully the house eventually engulfs in flames, and then you never need to think about them again. So.
I have a friend, Matt Algio. He used to work for Minnesota Public Radio back in the day. He has this thing.
Weird flex, but
yeah, no big deal. He has this thing where Midwesterners swallow all of their anger into a tight little ball deep into their stomach, so that their inner child will have something to play with. That's how I see most emotion, just sort of this festering little ball, and then you want a pool for him to swim in, so you down the brandy.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. That's a great visual.
Yeah, I've always really liked that one.
I like the brandy edition.
That's my ad. That's I plussed it.
Now is the
I yes-anded it.
Yes, you did. You did. I'm not even gonna touch it, but I think that there's definitely a way to build a whole animated series about that. I think that's why I'm doing this podcast. I'm just here to pitch you a bunch of different animated ideas.
I'm so into that. I like that
camera.
A lot.
So like if you do any of these down the line, I can come back and then lawsuit.
No, that's cool. I get it.
Do you play the guitar?
A little bit.
Do you?
Not well, but
you don't. Like, Like how well?
I not at all. Like I bang around a little bit.
Bang. I mean, what's your song? What's the song you know?
I don't know any songs.
Like you don't know any. Not even like Wagon Wheel or something.
I play like very simple standard blues things.
Dun 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 dun. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Just that.
Yeah.
I've had that guitar 30 years and that's all I do.
Really? It's pretty cool looking though.
No, I like the guitar a lot and it plugs into an amp over there.
Oh, nice. Sweet. And then you can, that's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Thanks.
Really cool. Does your neighbor ever come over and?
Butch?
Yeah.
Yeah. He actually, I've got a great neighbor, Butch Big, legendary musician.
Yeah.
Plugged that guitar into that old amp and was like, oh, I got to play this for my sound engineer because it's a real grubby, dirty sound that amp makes. So yeah, that's the life now. But he's a Wisconsin guy.
Yeah, Wisconsin, Madison. Didn't you walk over there not knowing for sure the first time, or
I didn't? Yeah, our kids were friends and. I didn't exactly. I just knew Butch as the neighbor guy, and we talked about the Packers sometimes. And then he took my kids into his recording studio in his house, and there's the Grammy for Nevermind and Smashing Pumpkins, and showing my kid how to play drums. He's the drummer for Garbage, and
that's so crazy.
I think the Wisconsin of it all, like we. Initially became friendly just over hopefully being decent human beings and
the Packers
and the pack. Yeah. But that's LA for you. That's Tinseltown. Sometimes you just don't know what you're surrounded by.
You don't, sometimes the tinsel gets you and sometimes the town is a nice town, friendly guys and the whole deal.
That's the saying. Sometimes the tinsel gets you, and sometimes the town, it's friendly guys. that old chestnut.
Oh yeah, coming up with just incredible
sound bites.
I know I'm just gonna be able to mine this podcast for stuff after this.
Yeah.
Where do we leave you off? Okay, so you're in college, you finish college, journalism, and then you get your first job in. Wait, list them off again. I'm gonna see if I can figure out where your first job was.
Okay, you got Omaha, Des Moines.
That was
Rochester, Minnesota.
Ding ding. Market 190. What was it?
Was it 170 or 150? Somewhere in there. Not a
cool.
But I was the weather guy.
Oh, sweet. Why? Because the other one got the flu or something, and then or got fired. What was the deal?
I think it was a firing. Yeah.
Well, did it get canned and then you got it?
It was a gal on the morning show.
Oh,
and
man.
The news director said, how'd you like to read the news and do a little bit of weather?
You were probably boing.
I'm like, oh, shit. Yeah. Here comes the Today Show. Look out.
From Rochester to Al Roker,
Matt Lauer.
Yeah.
All of them. And so, yeah, it was a year and a half of morning show, co-anchoring, and weather duties. And then moved on to the weekend.
Wow.
Co-anchoring, weather duties. No big deal.
No, I mean, you're not flexing at all right now, Dang. So,
God.
So it's funny. And if for everybody listening who's probably not familiar with local news, my experience with the weather guy or lady, there's a meteorologist. And if you're a meteorologist, you can call yourself that.
Right.
Otherwise, you're the weather person.
Yes.
Which means you didn't get a degree in this.
No.
You're plugging numbers into a machine and hoping for the best.
Not even. You're ripping stuff off the AP wire and that is telling you. It's basically, it was before iPhones, but it's basically looking at the iPhone weather thing going, there's a 36% chance of rain at 11 and then pretending you know what an occluded front is.
Yeah, right. And which is tough to do when you mispronounce it on live television.
That's right. I got in trouble because I I started drawing my own graphics, and I would put little cartoons for the graphics and said it's going to be a super day and stuff like that. And they asked me to stop doing that.
Really?
Yes.
Do you have any tape of that?
Not
somewhere
here
in the vault. Where's your reel?
My folks do.
Do your folks have?
They do.
I would love to see your weather reel from back in the day.
I would not.
It's
been a long time. I've never even shown that to my kids.
I'm gonna look up your folks in the white pages and see if I can't get a look in that.
God, it's Grand Central here. We got a doorbell now.
Who's coming now? Postmates.
Not gonna get it.
Red Apron. You don't answer the phones here. You don't get the doors here.
It's not my job.
It's a nice life. Your job's sitting here and play the blues.
Play the blues.
Okay, cool. So you're doing the thing, and then were you like trying to climb that ladder? Were you like, oh, I'm going to do this? And you were like hustling. Oh my gosh, this
weren't you? Did you ever go down that road?
Kinda. So I did this YouTube news channel. I was doing sort of comedy news,
right?
And then this
I remember that
station because we were talking at that point, and then this station in Dallas, which I believe I emailed you about when I was deciding to do it. They were like, we want some sort of comedy, fun stuff. We're a local news channel. And I went to Dallas, which is a 5 market, which is crazy. Started doing the 9 o'clock news 2 months after starting. It was nightcap, a different kind of news. Then they're like, well, we're going to go back to like traditional news. So I kind of fell into being a traditional news anchor in this big market.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And
you were anchoring in Dallas at age 23 or something?
25,
Good
26.
Lord.
And then, and I got fired pretty quick, or I got removed from that big of a job.
Yeah.
Or like casually became a correspondent, because I don't know what the deal was. Like one time I said bubbler on air, live on air. And they're like, yeah, that's a weed smoking thing, not for drinking water. And then another time I was reading the teleprompter and the word faux came up, F-A-U-X. And I said Fox. Oh, and
listen,
yeah,
that's not your fault.
No, it's
a stupid French word and it don't make sense.
It does not make. And see, that was my argument too. And anyway, I eventually, I don't know if it was 2 months, it might have been 6 months, but eventually I was asked to kind of take a step down, and then they put me up there.
Oh, they did.
But then the station, they said, we're not doing news, and we're just doing packages.
Oh yeah,
basically thing. And that's a completely different story about how the news industry kind of changes. But anyway, not the same path you took. You did the going from 127 or whatever to like 100. Then you broke 100 or whatever, right? Yeah,
no, it was Rochester 150 or whatever to Omaha, which is 70.
Oh, geez, that's
to Minneapolis, which was 13.
That's
I think
like the
at
cream
the
of
time.
the crop right there.
Yeah. And all along with sort of this vague goal of, maybe you're too young to remember Charles Kuralt, but like he did all these interesting feature stories around the country. And I had that in my mind. It was CBS Sunday Morning, which was the network show that did these long form feature stories. And somewhere along the line, and I got to do some really cool features over the years, and met all kinds of wild, weird people and everything. But it didn't take much, as you learned, to see that, okay, the news that I sort of thought I was embracing and getting into, this long form journalism, isn't going to exist in the way that I thought it was. And whether the Fox newsification of everything or it leads, it bleeds was really driving it. I just reached a point where it's like, I don't want to be doing this. I can't be doing this for the rest of my life. And I don't want to have further regret beyond not, making a different choice at 18 or whatever. So yeah, I was living in Minneapolis and just was talking to Jill, my wife, and just like something else. I need to try to make movies, and decided on film school, getting a master's in film, applying to different New York film schools was what I did.
Which I think at the time, probably people would have been like, dude, you're market 13.
Yeah.
You're 30. Stay on this track.
Yeah. Oh,
you
hell
know,
yeah.
You could maybe, if you play your cards right, get to Philadelphia next year.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, everyone beyond saying, what are you doing? If you keep at it, you can get that network job someday. Or it was more like, you're never going to make it.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? That's stupid.
Yeah.
You're both leaving behind a perfectly good career and jumping into one that you're never going to make it in.
Right.
Like legitimately that. And yeah, all right. I'm a polite guy, but I got a big old chip on my shoulder. So don't tell me what I can and can't do. So that's another thing for the inner child to play with, rage and
Where'd the chip on your shoulder come from?
Don't you think all Wisconsinites have a chip on their shoulder?
I think so. Yeah.
I've got the Fall of Wisconsin, that book over there. It's all about the political sort of complicated political legacy in our state that started with La Follette and this super socialist labor union state, and then same state gave us McCarthy, as gave us Russ Feingold, as gave us Scott Walker, and put Trump in office, and would just as easily have elected Bernie.
Right.
It's, I think, like, don't tell us how to think, don't tell us who we are.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think that kind of, I do think it's a bit of it's polite. No, they're not mean people, but there is, at least in my experience and with myself, a definite chip on my shoulder.
Yeah.
Don't put me in a box.
I feel that. And working, with a lot of the Wisconsin stuff, for a few years now, it's definitely like doing shows or whatever. That mentality is pretty prevalent, and it comes out too in there's a population of people, and I've done this myself, been asked by, one of my parents to please take your cheese head off in church. You know what I mean? But it's that. It's like it is nothing to walk out in public with a big old foam patted cheese head. No. And that's just one example. That's just but very, very proud people, and not really overly concerned with what the big city of Chicago thinks about us.
No, fibbies.
They come up here for vacation. Yeah, they must like it. Fibs, yeah. All right, so you do this, and are you and Jill met at a news station?
Yeah,
right?
We met in Omaha. She was the morning anchor there. I was the Iowa bureau chief.
Wow. Whoa. Mm-hmm. Can't believe I landed this interview.
How many were in that bureau? One.
But hey,
I was him. I was
the guy.
I'm so happy to have had that job, though, because I was shared by a station in Omaha and one in Des Moines, and my job was to cover the western third of Iowa up to South Dakota down to Missouri. So weird farm stories and ag stories small town stories and racist sheriffs and, you name it. It was such a cool gig just to be exposed to such a diverse array of stories and people. Which is why I can say I don't regret having worked those 8 or 9 years as a journalist, because it changed the way I see the world.
Definitely. I mean, I feel like, especially I'm thinking of Cedar Rapids right now. Very much so informed. I think that story, would Tim Lippy be the same Tim Lippy if you didn't meet probably a million Tim Lippys doing the news?
Yes, 100%. Yeah. And seeing myself that way, like as a kid from Neenah, going and living in Omaha, and Omaha I was living on the 16th floor of this high rise, and there's the tallest building in Neenah is 3 stories. So to me, that was like, oh, we're in a major urban metropolis now, not a sort of third-tier U.S. small, medium-sized U.S. city.
Yeah. That's cool. And so I guess as you went to film school and you went through it, like what things did you take from journalism into that? Do you think it gave you an edge? Do you think knowing how to do the cameras and everything gave you an edge?
I mean, it certainly going in, just having shot a lot of stuff and knowing how to set up a tripod and fold a light cord, little practical things, like just in terms of being on set, made it easier for me. Knowing what lenses were and how cameras work made it easier for me. And I think, as much as anything, kind of having, not to say an objective viewpoint on storytelling, but trying to find humanity in things in a way that, maybe isn't normal in most cinema. I mean, it's why I've gravitated toward Alexander Payne's movies, because they're real people and it feels like you're dropped into the middle of someone's life, which is not to say a journalistic approach, but kind of, the way he attacks his stories is almost journalistic, I think.
I think there's a lot of similarities. Well, folks, excuse the interruption. It's the other Charlie. I just want to tell you that this week's episode is sponsored by Mi Casa Su Cafe over there in Milwaukee, okay? They got food that's spicy, not spicy, and good. Okay, so if you want any of it, you get on over there and you tell Paul and Jamil I says hi, okay? And they'll take care of you real good. Okay, hey, keep her moving. What was kind of your break after school or during school that got you to the next level?
The thing that got me a manager was a film I wrote and directed, a short film that won some awards at Columbia and stuff like that. And I got that in the hands of a manager out here in LA. And I had written a script and she loved the film, but didn't think my writing was that great. She's like, you're a great director, but you need to write something that someone is going to want to make. So I was like, oh, all right. I thought I was more... okay, I can do that. So I wrote a new script and that she loved.
Which one?
It's called Jeremy Orm is a Pervert, which is a very, very loosely autobiographical about the smut I sold in junior high school. I was a smut peddler. I was. You were
one of those guys, huh?
I was. I bought Playboys from a ninth grader for $1 and then sold them to other seventh graders for $3.
Wow. An entrepreneur as well.
I was.
I cannot believe
it's the last good business move I made.
So how much money did you make doing that?
$81.
Now, some people might be thinking, $81, that's not a lot of money. But I mean, we're talking 1986, 86. So
85,
today,
85. In today's dollars, that's $105.
Easily.
You know what I bought with that money?
You invested it.
I did. Pony City Wings.
No.
Pony's version of Air Jordans, which were worn by Orlando Woolridge. Now, it is sometimes been falsely reported that I bought Air Jordans. I did not. City Wings.
Wow. So where are those shoes today?
God, I wish I had them.
Do you know how much those would be worth?
Yeah.
At least $189. How did your parents find the pornos?
I don't know that my parents have ever heard this story, but I had a fort in the garage on Congress Street. And it was called the Crya Club, actually.
Really?
For Cripes. Crya.
No,
yeah,
no,
C-R-I-A.
come on.
Yes, it was.
Come on.
Ask my friend Jason Bergstrom. It was the Crya Club.
That's awesome.
Criminy, Cripes, Crya.
For cry out.
Oh, Crya. Oh, cry.
Offer to cry.
We used
all
to
the
say
different
that.
versions.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
So it was the Crya Club. And, it was, there were carpet remnants and like Michael Jordan posters and Ricky Henderson, and Mad magazines everywhere. Like Mad magazines that was sort of the cover.
Yeah.
And behind the Mad magazines or under carpet remnants, I had stored the Playboys and the penthouses that I bought from this ninth grader and then was distributing to the seventh graders.
Hustlers too? Or no, you didn't?
There was one Hustler, I think, but only one. That was tough to get your hands on.
No, I believe it.
It's sort of like the opium of low grade smut. Like when it comes through town, you grab it, but it's mostly out of town. It's not a everyday kind of deal. So November rolled around, I guess, or December. And you know what happens in Wisconsin that time of year? You get the storm windows out, the winter windows.
Oh yeah.
Where are those stored?
Yeah, well,
in the Crya Club.
See, mine were stored in the fruit cellar. So, but Crya Club took it, huh?
Crya Club is technically an attic in the garage.
I got you. So,
and that is where the windows are stored. And up, mom and or dad, not sure, went and got the windows down and stumbled upon a discovery. And, they were just gone one day. The magazines were just gone one day.
They didn't have a talking to you or anything?
There was a little bit of a talking that it is natural for a 12-year-old boy to want to look at naked ladies, but that some of that stuff, because some of particularly Penthouse at the time, and there may have been a Hustler, it gets a little
more than the articles.
A little randy.
Yeah.
A little bit randy. And she said that's not the way God intended love to be, between a man and a woman who love each other, wait till they're married, and that's when sex happens. And that was it. Never another word from then until today.
Wow.
40 years later.
I'm hoping in some way they do listen to this. And when I looked them up in the white pages, I'm going to call and get their email. Now, your dad, preacher, right?
That's right.
Are both your folks still around?
They are.
Okay. And then your mom, was she working at the time too?
She was. My mom's actually a great writer. She was an English teacher and was subbing at that time. Was a substitute teacher.
The teacher and the preacher.
That's right. That's right.
That's awesome.
That's right. Yeah.
And
boy.
the preacher's son was the porn dealer too.
Briefly.
And briefly.
It was erotica. It wasn't pornography.
Sure.
No. It was
and
tasteful erotica. Okay. It's more burlesque.
But sure. Yeah. And all centerfolds. They were covered.
Oh my God.
So this inspires though the big screenplay.
It did.
In many ways.
It 100% inspired it. And people really responded to that script because it was, and it's the advice I would give any young writer is, why that script resonated more than the other one I'd sent that managers, because there was so much truth of my life, even though it was hugely fictionalized. I was writing about something I knew intimately and was able to be honest and vulnerable as a writer, which is something I never could do as an actor, but as a writer, sort of laid it all bare there of my soul. And people loved that script, and I was going to make it. We had financing, and we're casting and finding locations in Wisconsin, and then the financier went bankrupt, and the movie went away, and through that I needed. Because I was a year-ish out of film school, started needing income. So that's eventually what led me to the first many years of my career being more of a writer than a writer-director, which I always intended to be both, but to get paid, I needed something. And so ended up writing a bunch of scripts that paid me as a screenwriter, but not a director.
Right. So you have the manager who loves your stuff, believes in you, and then starts finding all these people who need writing gigs, and that's how you're paying your bills.
Yeah,
and at that time, are you making like a good living? You're like, oh, I'm killing it now.
Compared to what I was doing, yeah, for sure. I was directing PSAs and commercials for the military, and whatever job I could get directing, I was doing out of school. So yeah, selling a TV show to ABC
Oh, that's huge.
that never gets made, but still getting a pilot and paid to write a pilot was huge for me at that time. And or a movie that sold that also never got made, huge.
Totally.
So it afforded me, I didn't have to do other jobs.
Yeah.
But it's still it was I remember the first several years, like I'd sold a couple things, a show and a movie, and the Jeremy Orm script people knew, but I'd go to a party. Oh, what do you do? I'm a screenwriter, director. What have you made? I'm nothing yet, but this thing I sold, and it was like, it became this other existential thing of like, well, if I'm a writer, but the movie isn't made, it's like tree falls in the woods and no one's around to hear it. If you're a writer and you write something and no one reads it or sees it, are you really a writer or whatever? So Cedar Rapids was the first thing that finally got made, and that was written out of just pure frustration over all these jobs I was getting and nothing was feeling right. And I was like, fine, fuck this. I'm just going to write something that I would actually want to see. And I would, and I wrote that. And of course, that's the first thing that gets made.
And how did it get made? When did you send it off to a bunch of people?
That was one where I had a manager and agent, and I'd met Ed Helms through a mutual friend, this guy Owen Burke, who worked with Will Ferrell and Adam McKay for years. And he introduced me to Ed, and we became friends. And I sort of envisioned Ed as I was writing this thing. And like, I'm going to write this script, and it's for you when you're done, if you want to read it. And he read it right away, and it's like, let's do it. And that was just as... trying to remember if Hangover had come out. I think it hadn't, but was just or maybe it did. Maybe it just came out after just before he read it. So he committed to this. Then The Hangover came out, became the biggest thing ever. And all these studios were like, we want to be in the Ed Helms business. So we had opportunities, to sell it a bunch of different places. And Searchlight was by far the best fit, and worked with Jim Burke and Alexander Payne producing it. He and Jim Taylor, all of whom are good friends to this day. So it, as hard as it was getting to that point, like as movies go, as indie movies go in particular, that one came together really quickly. Yeah.
Even shooting it now, and at this point, I'll say that's where we met, because at that same time, I was just getting out of college.
Yeah, young fella.
Yeah, just a young whippersnapper, dear guy. And I went. I didn't have much money at all, but I spent what I had to get a plane ticket out to L.A. I met with a bunch of people to try and get some job somewhere. I met with Jim Burke, and he was like, well, you want to be a PA?
Yeah.
And I was like, sure. Where?
Absolutely.
Michigan. Okay.
Great.
So, went over there, and then, what do we have? Is this a picture?
That's the day we hired Miguel Arteta at the Smokehouse on Cedar Rapids.
Oh, Miguel, that's awesome.
Me.
Was Chewy there too? Or?
No, it was just Miguel, Ed.
Oh, that's great.
Jimbo, Evan Endicott, I think.
I love it.
And Ed.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What a great picture.
Yeah.
And did the Smokehouse send you that with the frame and the whole nine?
Well, they
came around with the cameras.
Yeah, they come around with the camera.
That's great. Yeah, get that on the camera. Mm-hmm. I like the with the sun coming through
a
little bit. Yeah,
it's a little sun dappled. It looks like it's in the water.
That's pretty sweet. That's a huge deal for you right in there. And not to like steal your thunder, but that was a huge thing for me too, to get my first like PA gig. I mean, like I got your coffee at least. I mean, a number of. I went on a lot of Starbucks runs.
Would the movie have gotten made without Chaz Barron's?
Now, actually, I do want to bring this up because first of all, no, I was the walkie PA.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was in charge of the walkies.
Yeah.
And you can't make a movie without walkies. Ask anybody.
No,
anybody.
Nope.
Second of all, there is a scene in the shower.
Oh.
Do you remember this?
Yeah.
Or in the locker room where you guys requested a bare ass. That was me.
That was?
So yes.
Oh,
so
I didn't know that, actually.
I got somebody coming to ask me, hey, they were wondering if you would show your ass in this scene. I was like, yeah, do I get paid anymore? And they're like, we're going to get back to you on that. And then I was like, well, I'll do it if I get paid a little bit more. And then they were like, I think they somehow between then, I was kind of joking because I would have shown my ass. And this might be one of my biggest career regrets to this day. But, they never got back to me after I asked for a little bit more money.
Wait, so it is your ass or isn't?
It's not my ass.
Oh,
it's a different ass because there is an ass in there.
I wonder whose it is.
Some other extra who was not requesting more money.
Okay.
I think.
Well, I mean, you were in the right. And also, P.S., there was no intimacy coordinator.
Oh, there was not?
No.
Well.
Because I don't think that was a thing then. Now it's a thing.
Now it's
just a big thing in the New York Times about that as a new thing on set.
Oh, no kid.
No kidding.
Wow. Jeez. No, there was not one there.
Rules were broken up and down.
They were. I will say, though, if anybody's interested, I am the pool boy.
That I knew you were in it.
Out of focus. We'll just say that. But I did commit to the role. I committed to my action of taking towels from one end to the other end.
Did you get paid extra for that?
I did, actually.
Really?
I did. Yeah. I got an extra rate and then my PA rate.
Oh, my God.
So, I mean, I was rolling in it at that time. I was staying in my aunt's basement, my aunt and uncle's basement in Northville, Michigan. My payment was to do the grout on their bathroom, which I did. I did the good grout job, and I was a PA on one of my favorite movies.
Arguably the best movie made in Michigan that year.
I really, really like. If you guys have not seen Cedar Rapids, you should watch it. I just think it dials down to the T. Just the culture.
There's a subset of people that really like that movie.
Yeah,
it didn't do huge box office, but it's one of those. It's kind of found its way. It's not like Office Space level cult movie, but it's sort of in that category of people who like it really like it.
Yeah. Is that like your first big break?
Yeah.
Doing that film?
Yeah.
Where does Wreck-It Ralph come in? Did you come into this thinking you'd be a cartoon man?
God, no. It's that's sort of it's another thing where after, I've now done 3 animated films and directed the last one and well, this is unexpected. I kind of woke up after 9 years of making those movies like, would not have predicted this when I came out of film school. So Wreck-It Ralph was initially, I had met generally at Disney with that Jeremy Orm script as my calling card.
That's what got you into the land of princesses.
It is because they like the characters and the comedy, even though obviously they're not going to make that movie, but I hit it off with this guy, Rich Moore, who had directed a bunch of my favorite Simpsons episodes and had just been hired there. And they're like, all right, you two are a good pair. So come up with a video game movie. That was the only mandate. And this is what we came up with was Wreck-It Ralph. And I was not finished writing Cedar Rapids when I got that job. And Rich was always 2 hours late. And so I would come in 2 hours early. And I finished writing the script in the time when he was late, and I came in early in the 4 or 5 hours of lag between when his day began. And I finished writing the script then. And so that movie overlapped and got made in my first year at Disney.
How'd you get Zootopia? Because you were you brought onto that? Or because that was not your story,
right?
Was it?
No, I mean, as it turns out, it is a very personal story to me because, again, it's a small town kid that goes to a big city, which I always relate to. Is that garbage truck going to be a problem?
No, it's fine. It actually gives a good ambience. We cracked the windows because it's getting a little hot. We were perspiring in the armpit area. Yeah.
But Zootopia was something that they were having trouble cracking the story and getting the movie in the place it needed to be. So about a year before it came out, they brought me on to that to do some onto Zootopia to work on that. So it ended up, it became weirdly as personal a story as anything I've worked on, at least in the big scale Disney movies, because the little girl rabbit just was, I knew that kid. I related to that kid.
How'd you relate to it?
I was a girl rabbit once.
I felt like I saw you as a girl rabbit once. Yeah. What was it? Small town?
I mean, Judy Hopps was a small town kid who was very idealistic and naive. And it's just, coming from Neenah and going to New York City was something I very much related to. And the thing with when you have like a great big megaphone like those Disney movies have, the thought that I could tell a story that was dealing with racism and in a way that's not like Bull Connor, bring out the fire hose racism, more the subtle things that I know I did and still do, I'm sure, without even thinking of it, unconscious bias, and being able to throw that into a big kids movie was just so exciting and exhilarating and a little terrifying, because if you do it wrong, it feels like a preachy, didactic Saturday morning cartoon. So it's exciting walking that tonal tightrope, and it's a huge challenge making a family film that I would, as an adult, want to watch, whether I had kids or not, which was always my goal with those movies.
Well, that movie especially, I remember seeing it, and I think I texted you right after, and I was just floored by how well you did exactly that.
Thanks.
You walked that line, because, and I don't know, animated films take a long time to make. Was it, because, in the past few years, we've had a number of events like Charlottesville, and, there's been some really egregious signs of racism, but more than that, there's been a lot of subtle undertones, and we see it with everything from gerrymandering to redlining cities and all that sort of stuff. So did you kind of meet with like experts in those areas to like study that, or did you know that, or how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, the beauty of a movie taking that long is that there's time to do a ton of research. So there was a lot of research done into bias and different types of unconscious bias in particular, which is because Judy, the bunny, the main character, kind of commits this act of racism against the fox, her friend, and in a way that doesn't seem particularly insidious, but actually is. And some of that stuff that you're talking about is, what we read about and we're learning more about as we were making that movie. I think the fact is the world is always going to have problems. Racism is always going to be a problem until it isn't. And the fact that we can talk about it and kids can talk to their parents about it is one small way to help get rid of it, or at least shine a light on it.
Right. Well, I think that's really true with Zootopia, because, as kids see it first, they're probably not thinking about it. But then I know a ton of Disney movies that I've grown up with and over time thought about in many different scenarios and used them as analogies, mostly comedically, but then also not comedically,
Yeah.
And it's cool that Zootopia will live on like a film like that forever. Because, I mean, I know as a white guy growing up in Wisconsin, I have all sorts of like unconscious,
for sure.
Prejudices and everything that when you're aware of, you try and fix those.
That's right.
It's amazing how deeply ingrained they are. And especially if you grow up never even questioning that, it does so much, damage over time, where it's like, I'm just anything from like school choices to neighborhood choices to whatever it is. It all comes back to like just not maybe being aware or whatever.
I think that's the thing with like in Neenah, where I grew up. It was when I was there, and it's gotten ever so slightly more diverse, but it was 98% white, I would guess. Almost every kid in my high school is white, and I would never describe myself as a racist, and yet, like you said, plenty of things I did, I just didn't know. I didn't know any better, and so as I've grown older and gotten more exposure to people of different races and from different countries and all over the world. And at Disney, I mean, we had 52 different countries represented on our film from people that worked on it. I think that's the key, is exposure and education, because people, I don't think in their hearts are hate-filled. Some are, so there's some rotten people, but the more you can expose people to different cultures and make them aware of their own biases, they'll fix it. They don't want to be assholes.
Right.
People don't want to, most people don't want to go around living in fear. So that's a way that, even though it's just a little thing, it's a kid's movie, whatever, I like that it can at least prompt a conversation, and if that's all it does, that's kind of all I want. So again, kids can talk to their parents or their friends and be like, oh my God, I did that to my friend. Was that racist? Like, yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm not going to do that again. That's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if that's all it does, then I'm psyched. I'm happy.
It's huge. It's huge because it's been seen by billion plus, people. It's very cool. It's like the dream. That's the dream of in a lot of ways.
I'm gonna quit now.
And you got an Oscar for it, and then Wreck-It Ralph, you were nominated for an Oscar. And then who won the Spider-Man won the Oscar.
Yeah.
So,
this is a good picture.
Yeah. But that's is really cool. I guess, what advice do you have for people who are sitting in Neenah right now and they're like, how can I do that? How you've kind of meandered your way here.
Yeah.
Like, what advice would you have for them?
Well, I think depending what you want to do, like if the goal is, if you love movies or TV or whatever so much that you just want to be around it and you want to work in that profession, as you learned on Cedar Rapids, you can get a job working in film. You can become a PA, work your way up, find a trade, even if you're not a writer, a director, an actor. If you love cinema, you love television, you love animation, it's an industry. It's just like working at a paper mill or or becoming a school teacher or whatever. Like, there is a path you can take, and it's not pie in the sky. It might be pie in the sky to say, I'm going to come out of school and direct the next Jurassic Park or something like that. But it's not impossible to get a job as a production assistant, then work your way up and become, I'm actually pretty good in with costumes, and get a job as the junior person in the costume department, and then get hired on another movie because you're nice and talented and like that. So that's the simplest thing, is if you love this and really think you want to do it, you can do it. You probably need to move out to LA, but you can also use your iPhone and go make a movie tomorrow if that's really what you want to do.
Right.
Or put it on YouTube or
Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever.
Yeah. And I think the great democratization of technology will allow for different voices, and is allowing for different voices. And, I hope at least it's not just lip service that Hollywood is paying to, bringing in more diverse voices and stuff. I think that'll happen.
Yeah.
So not that really applies to people in Neenah, because they mostly look like me, but
but Wisconsin in general has a lot of
for sure.
diverse pockets.
For sure. And I'm committed right now to sort of focusing on the stories I'm telling, the next movies I'm making. I want to exist in flyover land, because I think LA and New York and people in our business tend to either caricaturize, is that a word?
Yeah.
Make caricature of the Midwest. And I think, our stories are just as interesting, funny, sad, crazy, effed up as any, and I want to focus, my energies on making Midwest stories that feel real.
That's your next that's your next act. That's your next.
Yeah. I wrote a movie that I'm going to direct that is a Wisconsin movie. Hopefully, God only knows when it'll shoot, but hopefully next summer if everything comes together well.
Do you think you'll shoot it there?
I want to.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's
What city is it based out of?
it's a town I made up.
Cool.
Called Lac du Bet.
Sounds about right.
Which in French, bet, B-E-T-E, means beast. So it could mean like a big fish, like fur trappers would have called it the lake of the beast, but it also means stupid. It can mean stupid as an adjective, so it can also mean lake of the stupid. So,
that's awesome.
But yeah, it's like Fond du Lac or whatever, something like that.
Exactly.
So that's what I want to do next. And then there's a TV show that's a Wisconsin show that I'm not really able to talk about, and another TV show that's animated that if I don't call it Wisconsin, it takes place in some fictionalized Wisconsin.
I love it.
All of it. Yeah.
I'm very, very excited for that.
Yeah.
Well, listen, thank you for your time. But before I do let you go, I brought a gift for you here in my knapsack. Okay. Now this is back when I first came out to LA. First of all, you've been awesome my whole career of hitting me back or whatever, and giving me advice and everything. So I wanted to give you something pretty slick. Now listen, these are 2 license plates here. Now these were on the 2005 Dodge Grand Caravan that I accidentally shot with my dad's shotgun. Oh, and
accident.
Well, my brother forgot to unload it. I was pulling the guns out, and then one of them went off and it shot. He was super pissed.
Yeah.
There were bullets in the thing, and the shotgun seat was like a real shotgun seat. Like you couldn't sit there.
Okay.
But anyway, I brought this out, and when I came out here, I became a set PA. Yeah. Because I had a minivan. So, and that got me able to use the cameras to make my reel, to get in the news and do the whole deal. Oh, wow. Anyway, the whole time you were very supportive. So I have 2 of these, and I want you to have one, and then I'll keep the other, kind of like a locket. Yeah. Except not really that at all, but you get the idea.
Yeah,
obviously, you want the half one.
I feel like this one has a little bit more character.
That was on the front for sure.
Front.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. This was not shot, but it certainly got broke.
Yeah, she got real broke there. Yeah.
It's perfect.
That's great.
I love it.
Well, that's my gift to you. So thanks so much.
Thanks.
207 CJX.
This is gonna go up on the wall.
Is it really?
Yeah, or somewhere over there.
Wow, I'm honored. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's
a real
amazing.
pleasure.
This was a lot of fun, ladies and gentlemen. Phil Johnston. Follow him on Twitter.
No, he's not. I don't got anything. I got nothing.
I envy that so much that you're just off all
thing.
the social media. Well, thanks, man. This was a ton of fun.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Enjoyable.
Yes. All right, so there it is. That was the first episode of the CripesCast podcast featuring Phil Johnston. Thank you all for listening. If you want to hear outtakes from this interview, we've got them up under the supporter tab on the Facebook page. So if you go there, you become a supporter, you get all the outtakes from podcasts, and then also behind the scenes stuff, pictures, some live streams, all that sort of stuff. So just if you're looking for more than the usual, that's a good place to do it. Other than that, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast, rate it if you will. Okay, folks, so I hope this was the best interview of your life. As always, go Packers and the Bears.
So roll out the barrel and get the band brewing. Life's got you down, just keep her moving. It's on Wisconsin, the Badgers say it's the old Wisconsin Jubilee.
You know, sometimes when you're ice fishing, you put your foot in the walleye hole and go ass over tea kettle and you think you're done. No, you gotta keep her moving.